Okay, so hello everyone. I'm Ms. Zeel Doshi Thakkar and I welcome you all on this interview where we will learn what are the changes in the GST and how it will impact us. We have with us Mr. Anand Vardarajan, Chief Business Officer with Tata AMC. So, Mr. Anand, I welcome you.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. So, Mr. Anand, this is a big shift. 2017, 1st July 2017 को GST लॉन्च हुआ था. उसके बाद आज जाके हम इतने सारे चेंजेस देख रहे हैं. What do you feel? How will this impact the layman? How will this impact the consumers? क्यों इस चेंज को सबसे बिगेस्ट रिफॉर्म कहा जा रहा है?
देखिए हमने when GST was first introduced, there were multiple slabs, about 6 or 7 slabs, and over a period of time, ये simplify होते गया है. ये पहली बार ऐसा हो रहा है कि you are now down to practically 3 slabs or 2 major slabs. Let me put it this way. And
Right.
5 and 18% are the only 2 slabs which remain. Um, and a very simple way to think about what has really happened is अब तक काफ़ी confusion था कि कौन 18% पे है और 28% पे कुछ था कोई 12% GST bracket में था कोई 5 में था and so on. I think with clarity emerging, they have tried to simplify, and it indeed is becoming really simplified taxation because आपके tax slabs बहुत simple हैं, याद रखना भी simple है. And I'll give you a very simple way of trying to remember what would get taxed in which way. और ये बिना आप लिस्ट देखे आप भी कर सकते हैं कि ये कौन से स्लैब में जाएगा. तो इकोनॉमिक्स हम जब पढ़ते हैं तो उसमें हम देखते हैं नीड्स वांट्स एंड लग्जरीज व्हाट वी नीड टू हैव व्हाट वी वांट टू हैव एंड व्हाट वी डिजायर लाइक इट्स रियली लग्जरियस एंड व्हाट वी डिजायर टू हैव एंड क्लियरली आप देखेंगे जो भी बेसिक नीड्स हैं जो एकदम एसेंशियल्स हैं वो जीरो में आ गए. रोटी कपड़ा मकान में इफ यू हैव टू लुक एट अ लॉट ऑफ फूड आइटम्स now are a part of zero GST. They've moved out. The bare essentials are in 5% GST. And a lot of, if you were to look at it, for FMCG products या जो कंज्यूमर गुड्स हैं जो
Right.
रोजमर्रा की चीजें हैं जो ग्रोसरीज हैं वो सारे 5% में आ गए. If I were to tell you कि the next thing would be wants. Needs are या तो बहुत ही
Needs are
जरूरत है वो
sorted.
जीरो में आ
Yes.
गया. उससे मतलब the next slab is groceries and so on, that is at 5%. Then you have the next slab which is at 18%, where you have appliances, consumer appliances जैसे AC हो गया, कुछ TVs हो गए and so on, that is at 18%. एंड आप अगर एंड कार्स भी जो है 18% पे आ गए,
Yeah.
स्मॉल कार्स एंड सो ऑन. अगर उससे भी ज्यादा यू वांट बिगर कार, स्मार्टर फोन एंड सो ऑन, then obviously there is a different tax structure for that, which really comes in the luxury goods category, and hence you will find a different rate applicable for that, which is the 40% rate applicable for bigger size luxury cars. um, सम ऑफ द सिन गुड्स जिसको हम कहते हैं जैसे सिगरेट्स हो गया, टोबैको प्रोडक्ट्स हो गया या अल्कोहल हो गया, स्पिरिट्स, all these are really sin tax as they call it, and that's the reason why they come under the 40% bracket. But essentially, if you were to look at it, the big shift is the only two numbers we need to remember is 5 and 18. 5 may you will find a lot of these consumer day-to-day household, which is really the big bulge of middle and lower middle class. They are the ones who would really get benefited out of it, because if rates are high here, ये थोड़ा inflationary हो जाता है because it's an indirect tax. जिसके चलते अगर यहाँ पे अगर आपने पिन पॉइंट करके अगर राहत दी है तो इसमें बहुत जो है बेनिफिट जिसको सबसे ज्यादा जरूरत है उसको डायरेक्टली मिल जाता है.
Right, right. So, if I have to ask you कि यहाँ पे सबसे हमारे biggest losers कौन है और biggest winners कौन है? So आप losers किसे कहेंगे और winners किसे कहेंगे?
आई रियली डोंट थिंक बिगेस्ट लूजर्स ऐसे कोई है. because I
Hmm.
think if you were to look at it, most tax slabs have only come off. और जो 40% पे आज के तारीख में थे हैं, वो पहले भी लगभग वही रेट पे थे, इंक्लूडिंग सेस दे वर एट रफली 40%. तो ऐसा नहीं कि किसी को मतलब कोई एडवर्स टैक्सेशन में गया है, बट आज की तारीख में जो ज़्यादा टैक्स जो हायर स्लैब में थे, वो डेफिनेटली नीचे आए हैं. इसलिए वेरी क्लियरली कंज्यूमर गुड्स, कंज्यूमर फेसिंग कंपनीज को इससे काफ़ी फायदा हुआ है, ऑटोमोबाइल्स को काफ़ी फायदा हुआ है, एमएसएमईज को काफ़ी फायदा हुआ है. सो सम ऑफ दिस एग्रीकल्चर, फार्मिंग, हैंडीक्राफ्ट्स, ये सारे जो है नीचे वाले स्लैब में आए, जिसकी वजह से उनको काफ़ी इसका बेनिफिट आया. So it's very rare, and that's why it's being called or looked at as a very, very big game-changing reform because there are no losers. I think it's been a neutral to massively positive outcome for most people.
Right, absolutely. So, one interesting thing which I see over here is the cement. Okay, cement was earlier at 28% GST, and now it has come down to 18%. So, अब अगर cement पे GST कम हुआ है, so what do you think? What will be the impact of the same on my real estate sector, construction, whatever highways are being built? Cement हर जगह पे यूज होती है, right? तो infra, cement, real estate उन सब पे क्या impact होगा?
देखिए, ये सीमेंट जो है थोड़ा सा इनइलास्टिक टाइप प्रोडक्ट है, विच मीन्स प्राइस इलास्टिसिटी इसमें, डिमांड की इलास्टिसिटी जो है कम रहती है इसमें. ऐसा नहीं कि प्राइस कम हुआ तो ज़्यादा घर बनने लग जाते हैं, ऐसे नहीं होता है. I think the good part of reducing cost of the rate of GST here is then your cost of construction comes down. That becomes a benefit. But because of its inelasticity by itself, it does not generate higher demand. अगर x x amount of cement लगता था, उतना ही cement अभी भी लगेगा. Yeah, cement, because it's not like the end product that you are kind of requiring. Hence, elasticity उतनी ज़्यादा नहीं रहती है. But suffice to say that it definitely brings down cost of construction to the extent whatever relief which is possible. At the margin, it will start making impact.
राइट. सो जैसा भी आपने कहा कि सीमेंट इज नॉट द एंड प्रोडक्ट, तो शायद इतना इम्पैक्ट ना आए एंड प्रोडक्ट. जितना पहले हम जितना केजीज परचेज करते थे फॉर कंस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ अ हाउस, अभी भी शायद उतना ही होगा. टू सम एक्सटेंट द कॉस्ट विल कम डाउन.
Correct.
बट अगर इसी जगह पे मैं मेडिसिन देखूँ, हेल्थ केयर देखूँ, तो वहां पे तो हमें काफी मेजर इम्पैक्ट दिख रहा है. वी कैन सी दैट मेडिकल डिवाइसेस हैव कम डाउन टू 5%. सर्टेन मेडिकल डिवाइसेस, देर आर 33 लाइफ सेविंग ड्रग्स जिसको ऑलमोस्ट जीरो पे लेकर आए हैं. सो व्हाट डू यू थिंक इसका इम्पैक्ट क्या होगा हम एक आम आदमी पे?
देखिए, ये सब बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट चेंजेस है. जैसे काफ़ी सारे मेडिकेशंस एंड डायबिटीज़, हाइपरटेंशन हो, ये सारे जो एसेंशियल मेडिसिन, ये सब के रेट्स जो है काफ़ी नीचे आए हैं. इसका डेफिनेटली डायरेक्ट इम्पैक्ट पड़ता है बिकॉज देन योर मेडिकल बिल टू दैट एक्सटेंट कम्स डाउन. आपने सिंस यू स्पोक अबाउट मेडिसिन, आई विल ऐड दैट मेडिकल इंश्योरेंस जो है पहले 18% स्लैब में था, वो ज़ीरो हो गया है. So this
लाइफ
is
एंड
a
हेल्थ
very
बोथ, राइट? लाइफ
life
इंश्योरेंस
and
एज वेल एज हेल्थ.
healthcare. Correct. I'm just saying life and health both, which becomes a major step because there's just 18%. Otherwise, would have been very very high up until now. इससे क्या होता है कि people feel far more encouraged to kind of come forward and do a medical policy for themselves or a life insurance policy for themselves,
राइट.
because it's an essential thing in a growing economy, developing country like ours. I think medical, especially when social security नहीं है हमारे पास and we have to fend for ourselves, I think it becomes extremely important that हम मेडिकल इंश्योरेंस हो, लाइफ इंश्योरेंस हो, ये सब की कवरेज बनी रहे. और ये जो बहुत बड़ी छूट मिली है, जिसकी वजह से मुझे लगता है कि this is also a very nice way to nudge people to come forward, and if they already don't have insurance, I think join um, the join and become an insurance policy
राइट,
holder,
राइट।
be it life, agenda, life or medical.
जब हमारा ओल्ड रेजिम ऑफ टैक्सेशन था, द नॉर्मल इनकम टैक्सेस, एट दैट टाइम द गवर्नमेंट वाज गिविंग द रिबेट कि भाई आप लाइफ इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी खरीद लो, हम एटीसी दे देंगे आपको, आप हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस ले लो, एटी डी डी दे देंगे। सो जब से न्यू रेजिम आया है, आई एम श्योर वहां पे भी वो थोड़ा सा उनको नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट दिखा होगा, बिकॉज पीपल आर लाइक अगर आप टैक्स बेनिफिट नहीं मिल रहा है तो क्यों खरीदना है। सो मे बी दिस रिफॉर्म कैन ब्रिंग दैट चेंज अगेन, है ना कहीं दे विल फील
Yeah,
कि
actually, yeah, मतलब उससे this is a very good point. One is आपको ओल्ड रेजिम में रहेंगे तो आपको इसका डिडक्शन भी मिलता है और जीएसटी भी नहीं है। एंड न्यू रेजिम में है जो उनको अभी तक अगर किसी को लगता था जो साइड लाइन में थे, उनको अभी ये बहुत बड़ा गेन है दैट they can have this policy 18% cheaper. But I
राइट,
really think the right reason for medical or life insurance should not be tax led. The right
राइट,
reason for medical insurance or life insurance has to be something which is more from a insurance coverage perspective,
या
which
प्रोटेक्शन
covers
पर्सपेक्टिव।
which covers the protection part of it, which covers the risk angle involved in it, rather than trying to save taxes. Because I think an untimely claim can seriously kind of derail finances of individuals or families, and can dig a very big hole in savings if, in case of medical, and in case of life insurance, even livelihood of the person or income, family income. So I really think I couldn't emphasize this more.
Right, right, absolutely. Life and health is important, irrespective of the fact of taxes. Great. I have one very interesting question on the automobiles also. उनको काफी मिक्स ट्रीटमेंट मिली है। बेचारी जो छोटी कार है, स्मॉल कार्स, उनको काफी रिलीफ मिला है, लेकिन जो लग्जरी व्हीकल्स है या हाई कैपेसिटी बाइक्स है, उनका रेट काफी हाई है। व्हाई डू यू थिंक ऐसा भेदभाव क्यों कर रही है जीएसटी की कमेटी?
देखिए, आई थिंक जैसे घर के खर्चे रहते हैं, when you have when we run when you run a family budget, if when you draw up a plan, if there are extra expenditures which are going in one direction, then you have to also cut back on certain expenditures somewhere else. Similar is
राइट,
the case. It's a bit like shoelace. आपने एक तरफ से सारा छूट दे दिया, and then the other side gets pulled up too much, and you can't tie the lace. You can't kind of balance it, and hence you have to somewhere balance it. The job of the finance minister is also very this thing, because you have to walk the tightrope of trying to balance revenue as well as expenditure. And
राइट,
it then becomes challenging that अगर हम rates कहीं कम कर रहे हैं, then where do I increase to keep this neutrality of revenue, or at least see how I can minimize. So wherever,
राइट,
who are the people who are buying luxury goods, uh, then they may have to shell off a little more for acquiring that, because on the other side they are also, because it's an indirect tax, everyone benefits from it. It's
राइट,
उसमें कोई भेदभाव नहीं है, whether someone is going and buying pulses or groceries for themselves. It's not that lower middle class or middle class is only benefiting, and the rich and the uber
राइट,
rich are not benefiting. Everyone benefits out of it. But if luxury goods are being bought only by a cross section of people, then shouldn't they pay a little bit more? And that is the way these finances can be kind of balanced. And to that extent, um, it you have to do that tightrope walk
राइट,
to somewhere make sure that you balance, keep a balance between expenditure and how much you want to kind of earn. It's not
राइट।
easy, but I think it's a very fine balance that has been done.
ओके, दैट्स गुड टू नो। यू नो मुझे एक और सवाल ये आ रहा है कि अब तो बिजनेसमैन को भी काफी सारे चेंजेस लाने पड़ रहे होंगे। पहले जिन्होंने हर जगह पे उन्होंने 28% 18% रखा होगा। अब काफ़ी बिजनेसेस को भी सबसे पहले तो चेक करना पड़ रहा होगा कि उनके जो भी प्रोडक्ट्स है, इट मे बी मल्टीपल प्रोडक्ट्स फॉर एनी बिजनेस, दे विल हैव टू फर्स्ट आइडेंटिफाई कि भाई अब मेरे प्रोडक्ट्स पे क्या रेट एप्लीकेबल है, उस हिसाब से मैं इनवॉइसिंग करूँ। वॉट एवर इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट जो मेरे पास ऑलरेडी अक्यूमुलेट होके रखा है, नाउ आई हैव टू एडजस्ट इट एज वेल। So, what are the small things or challenges that a businessman will face, or how can they streamline it better in their day-to-day business activities?
ठीक है, कल तो ये सारे अनाउंसमेंट्स हुए हैं, जिसके बाद आई थिंक ऑल दीज changes will also be set up in the system. Good part is that I think this is not the first time tax slab changes have occurred. जैसा कि मैंने कहा, पहले हम 7 स्लैब में थे और ये चेंजेस पहले भी हुए हैं, सो टू दैट एक्सटेंट इट बिकम्स easier for them to adapt. एंड दूसरी बात यह है कि ऑपरेशनल ट्वीक्स असाइड, जैसा कि मैंने कहा, ये न्यूट्रल टू पॉजिटिव, न्यूट्रल टू अ फ्यू पीपल एंड पॉजिटिव फॉर मोस्ट, and
Right.
hence I think they will very happily make these changes for themselves, and that too very quickly. And ऐसा नहीं कि ये कल सुबह से चेंज हो रहा है, there is reasonable time, 22nd September तक टाइम दिया है, so you have reasonable time to make these changes and implement them.
Okay, great. I want to know कि इसका हमारे इकोनॉमी पे क्या क्या इम्पैक्ट आ सकता है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, जैसे हमने काफ़ी सारे सेक्टर्स पे रेट कट किया है, सो नाउ हाउ विल जीएसटी के कलेक्शन से क्या इम्पैक्ट होगा? ऑफ कोर्स वी विल रिड्यूस। अब अगर वो रिड्यूस होगा तो उसका क्या नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट हो सकता है? या हाउ विल गवर्नमेंट इंश्योर कि लोग टाइम टू टाइम कंप्लाई कर रहे हैं, पे कर रहे हैं, गवर्नमेंट के रेवेन्यूज फॉल नहीं हो रहे हैं? What could be the impact of this change on the government deficits or the economics?
सी फर्स्ट थिंग्स, इसमें आपने बहुत सारा सवाल एक साथ आपने जोड़ दिया है। ब्रेक दिस इनटू 3-4 पार्ट। फर्स्ट इज टैक्स कंप्लायंस की आपने बात करी, इम्पैक्ट ऑन फिस्कल डेफिसिट आपने बात करी,
Right.
इम्पैक्ट ऑन इकोनॉमी आपने बात करी। So first on tax compliance, whenever tax rates are lower, tax compliance really goes up. ये it is empirically proven. जब टैक्स रेट्स महंगा रहता है तब you know there are several people who try to figure out how to
Find the
uh,
loopholes,
find
maybe.
any gaps, etc. But tax compliance, as a rule, generally goes up as tax rates are lowered. And I think this becomes a welcome step. Number two, tax compliance in case of indirect tax is very easy because जो लास्ट में ले रहा है the end customer pays the tax. So it's extremely high for indirect tax. It becomes subjective in case of direct tax, and to that extent, it's much easier to administer uh, and have greater tax compliance because and GST being an indirect tax, it becomes easier. Number, the other question that you made, you are posed in terms of fiscal deficit. I think the
Right.
number which we expect, which is broadly kind of doing the rounds, is about 40 to 50,000 crores of loss in revenue due to the changes which we are seeing. That would roughly translate to about 0.15% slippage in fiscal deficit. I think somewhere I also read that uh, the ministry has said that possibly we may not borrow more, and that mean that गवर्नमेंट बोरोइंग भी वही लेवल पे रहेगी जो उन्होंने पहले साल के शुरुआत में कहा था, which also means that bond market should look okay, क्योंकि बोरोइंग ज़्यादा नहीं हो रहा है, वही लेवल पे है. The last part which you said in terms of impact of on economy, inflation, etc. We really think it's a very positive step because इससे क्या होता है, टैक्स रेट आप indirect tax में ऐसे to something which is all prevalent like GST में आप अगर कम करते हैं, your inflation tends to come down. So clearly it's a big positive from an economy perspective. This this is a very indirect way of putting more money in people's pockets, um, and it impacts different people differently,
Hmm.
because जैसे हम के शेप रिकवरी जैसे कहते हैं, के शेप में जैसे कोविड के बाद हमने देखा था, जैसे के का शेप होता है, रिच was getting richer and poor were getting poorer. I think the
Hmm.
scale is also applicable in an expenditure sense, because इसमें वो जो एक्सपेंस में वो जो बेयर मिनिमम आइटम्स जो हैं, हाउस होल्ड एक्सपेंडिचर्स जो है, डे टू डे हाउस होल्ड एक्सपेंसेस जो है, वो के में वो जो लोअर पार्ट ऑफ के है, दैट स्टार्ट्स गेटिंग इम्पैक्टेड पॉजिटिवली, बिकॉज ये टैक्स का बेनिफिट जो है उनको पॉजिटिवली इम्पैक्ट करता है. दे गेट द बेनिफिट ऑफ इट, इट लीव्स मोर मनी इन देयर हैंड्स.
Hmm.
So to that extent, yeah, it's fair to expect a less inflationary environment in future, other things being equal.
Right. So, do you think that this will stimulate the economy, especially the festive season is around? Also, ये cars पे कई सारी चीजों पे अब rates कम हो चुके हैं. So, do you think this will be a boost to our economy?
Do I need to say anything more? Because I think if you were to look at
Yeah.
the market reaction, I think it's very clear. The day this got announced, on Independence Day, and you saw roaring salute to this by the markets immediately after that. So very clearly, it is seen as positive for some of the high impact sectors, like consumer, autos, MSMEs, and so on. And we really feel this could somewhere uh, bring the animal spirits once again.
Sure. Yes, can we please continue?
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay, we can go ahead, right?
Yeah, yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about the market uproar. You were sharing with us about it, that on 15th Independence Day, 15th August, they shared about it, and there was uproar in the market. People took it very, very positively.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we expect that this is net positive. This is a major step which has happened, and a large part of the market reaction perhaps has already played out. I think as time progresses, it'll be interesting to see how this quarter and the next quarter, especially both being festive, you have Dashera on, in Q2, and so yeah, both Dashera and Diwali actually are in Q3. So to that
Yeah.
extent, I think it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But the expectation is that this should give the much required reprieve for, say, auto industry and so on, where there was a lot of bunched up inventory issue, which we think will start moving the wheels um, in auto and other sectors quite meaningfully.
Okay, great. So, we have seen कि globally बहुत सारी countries ने सिर्फ two rates रखे हैं, and fortunately we have come to the three rates as of now. Do you think India could move to the two rate system as well, which is the best global practice?
No, I think to each it's his own is the way I would feel. I don't think many things which work here does not work outside, and vice versa. I would just look at it positively and say that uh, we are simplifying. We are seeing simplification of taxation. We are seeing tax compliance going up. We are seeing this is पहले जब GST introduced हुआ था, there were a lot of concerns about ये कैसे होगा, इतना country wide same rate and so on. You're seeing that I think everywhere, whether you buy in whichever state, पहले वो sales tax का जमाना, it all these things were very different in different states, and there were concerns around that. And when you look at it from there to now, I think there is a significant change that we've seen across the country. You pay one rate. It's goods move easily. ऑक्ट्रा नाका नाका चले गए हैं, इसके वजह से things reach faster. There is पहले जो harassment के issues सुनाई देते थे, those things are gone. It's becoming very very transparent. Now whether it is two or three doesn't matter. I really think these are very very progressive moves which are happening, and why should we copy the world? If we think it is required, we should do it for our reasons, not because globally X, Y, Z or anything else works.
Sure. So I thank you for answering this. I have one last question before we go. Um, ये मुझे पर्सनली काफी टाइम से फील हो रहा है कि द लिमिट इज सेट एट 20 लाख रुपीस ओके सिंस 2017. इवन इफ आई सी अ नॉर्मल इन्फ्लेशन ऑफ 6%, जो उस टाइम पे 20 लाख का टर्नओवर होता है किसी भी बिजनेस के लिए, प्रोफेशनल सर्विसेज के लिए, आज की तारीख में द वैल्यू में बी 35 lakhs or so, given a 6% compounding rate. I completely agree that government हमें काफी सारे benefits दिए हैं with the rate cut and everything. But do you think the basic limit for enrolling for GST should go up from 20 lakhs to maybe now 40 lakhs or 35 lakhs or something?
I think from time to time the government keeps looking at some of these numbers very closely and tries to keep pace with inflation. Look at your income tax, for instance. पहले लिमिट्स होते थे 2-2.5 लाख या 4 लाख पे था. इस बार के बजट में अब हमने डायरेक्ट टैक्स में 12 लाख तक का रिबेट, 12 लाख इनकम पे रिबेट कर दिया एक झटके में. विथ वन स्ट्रोक ऑफ पेन इट हैपेंड. And should it have been done earlier? I don't know. Could it have been done earlier? Possibly. Why not? But have they done it? The answer is they have done it. So I really think there must be some wisdom. We don't have the data with us in terms of why they chose 20 and not 35. Do they not look at inflation? Do they not look at these numbers? I really think they have more numbers with them than we have. Both put together, with due respect. And but the point is that the good part is that are they looking at it? Do they make these changes from time to time? Of course, we've seen that. And this year, the changes which happened in income tax perhaps is suggestive of that. The changes that you've seen in GST is suggestive of that. So the government has ears to the ground. They are seeing what is happening there, and they make changes as and when it is warranted. It could be, now, later. I mean, that is something which is debatable. But I really think, the agility and the responsiveness is something which is important.
Okay, so great. Thank you for giving up your time, Mr. Anand. It was my pleasure talking to you, and thank you for answering all of our questions and making this GST reforms very easy for everyone to understand.
Thank you, Zeel. Thank you for having me.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you. Yeah, yeah. Take care.